Welcome to the Barbados Today Evening News Update for Friday, July 27th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Our top story: moments after he was released on $400,000 bail following Monday's drug bust at the Bridgetown port, Goddard Enterprises chairman and president of the Barbados Private Sector Association, Charles Herbert, declared his innocence. After 4 days of investigations, 62-year-old Herbert, 56-year-old Christopher Glenn Rogers, and 55-year-old Walter O'Neill Prescott appeared in the District A Magistrates Court, jointly charged with possession with intent to supply, trafficking and importation of 267 pounds of cannabis with an estimated street value of $534,160 on July 23rd. As he exited the court, Herbert paused to speak to the media.
I'm speaking on behalf of myself and Christopher Rogers standing next to me, and I first want to assert clearly to the public that we are entirely innocent of all of the charges that are brought and that we've been charged with. I want to thank the drug squad and the CID for handling this matter in a very professional way, and they have worked exceedingly hard over the last 4 days to assemble evidence relating to this case. I want to say clearly to you all that all of the evidence that they have clearly supports our innocence. We are therefore shocked that cases were brought against us, and we can only assume that the people who made the decision lacked the courage to stand by the truth that they themselves have uncovered and that they are sworn to uphold.
Herbert was ordered to report to the District F police station every Wednesday by 10 a.m., Rogers to the Hastings police station every Wednesday by 10 a.m. The businessmen, who are represented by Andrew Pilgrim QC and Commissioner Benjamin, were also ordered to surrender their travel documents. They are to reappear in court on November 6. Meanwhile, the third man, Walter Prescott, was remanded to Her Majesty's Prison after he failed to make bail in the amount of $450,000 for the lack of surety. Prescott, who is represented by attorneys at law Arthur Holder and Shadia Simpson, returns to court on Monday. In other news this Friday, Prime Minister Mia Mottley today promised that her administration would not be taking any Grim Reaper approach to the planned restructuring of the public sector. In fact, she strongly criticized the approach used by the former Democratic Labour Party administration to retrenchment, saying it used a cutlass and not a scalpel to chop roughly 3,000 public sector jobs about 5 years ago. She was speaking in Parliament today while tabling amendments to the Financial Management and Audit Act and the Central Bank of Barbados Act.
Shall we make government fit for purpose, to be for our people a beacon that brings hope, drives aspiration, and reflects excellence? Or shall we be the Grim Reaper with a cutlass, coming on labor first, ignoring the fact that yesterday marked 81 years since riots took place in this land to fight for rights that led to labor being recognized and placed at the pinnacle of our national endeavor and pursuit and respect. That's what this is about. And we therefore come today, sir, to say that never before did it happen, and never again shall it happen.
Opposition leader Joseph Arthurley today warned the government to tread cautiously on any resolution that would seek to prevent the crossing of the floor in Parliament. In a frank speech during his contribution to debate in the House on the Central Bank of Barbados Amendment Bill 2018, Arthurley deviated somewhat from the subject matter that is, cautioning lawmakers that Parliament must be careful about what measures it introduces to guard against possible abuse of power. While admitting that he had no knowledge of whether the House would debate such a resolution, the St. Michael West MP, who crossed the floor 1 week after the May 24 general election, insisted that any move to block the crossing of the floor would be unwise.
Be careful about any resolution that prevents the crossing of the floor, that locks you into where you are. That is all I am saying. That is all I am saying. I'm not saying that I expect that to come. I'm simply saying it happens in parliaments. It happened in Trinidad. Be careful if you go there. That's all I'm saying.
Former Chief Justice Sir David Simmons is not about to let recent threats made by former Prime Minister Frondell Stewart against the Caribbean Court of Justice to die with the former Democratic Labour Party government. Sir David frowned on the idea and told a meeting of a Men's Education Support Association at the St. Michael School on Thursday night that he was still trying to find out what Stewart would have replaced the CCJ with. Sir David, who is one of the leading regional proponents of the CCJ and who sat on the committee which established the regional court, warned that leaving the CCJ was not as easy as the former Prime Minister had made it seem.
The agreement establishing the Caribbean Court of Justice. And Article 37 of this agreement, this treaty, says as follows: withdrawal. A contracting party may withdraw from this agreement by giving 3 years' notice in writing to the depository, who shall promptly notify the other contracting parties accordingly, and the withdrawal shall take effect 5 years after the date on which the notice has been received by the depository. So you'll be moving from one 5-year period of an election to another election, into the second term. It's not easy, minimum of about 8 years. And that was crafty to make it difficult for states which had committed themselves to withdraw, perhaps for the same or similar reasons as may have informed the statement of the former Prime Minister.
Former Prime Minister Stewart had warned during the recent general election campaign that he would have pulled out of the CCJ if the DLP was returned to office.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional development, St. Lucia's Minister of Home Affairs and National Security, Senator Hermingal Francis, is in Caracas for talks to discuss his government's decision to impose visa requirements on Venezuelans. The requirements will be imposed with the exception of diplomats and genuine business persons. Francis says the action resulted from mounting national security concerns. He, however, insisted that St. Lucia was still a friend of Venezuela, but government must take action to protect the country from security threats. On the international front, wildfire wreaked havoc in a Northern California city where homes and businesses were destroyed. We get more in this report from Reuters Television.
Apocalyptic scenes like this emerging from a city in Northern California where thousands of residents are fleeing a raging wildfire Friday with homes and businesses burned to the ground. According to fire officials, a private bulldozer operator was killed in the so-called car fire, a blaze that has tripled in size over the last 2 days to 28,000 acres. The wildfire, which started on Monday, has crossed the Sacramento River and now threatens hundreds of homes on the western fringes of Redding, a city of 90,000 people.
This fire is extremely dangerous and moving with no regard for what's in its path.
Hot, dry weather has been fueling the flames, with the temperature in Redding peaking at 113 degrees Fahrenheit Thursday and hovering around the late 90s at night.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Good evening.